Hello and welcome, I'm Oles Garjuk and you're watching Head to Head with UATV. Reducing traffic accidents goes hand in hand with modernizing infrastructure, a strategic priority for Ukraine. At the end of 2018, the European Investment Bank and the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development allocated almost 200 million euros for a new project improving road safety in Ukraine. To discuss this project, we welcome in our studio today Per Mathiasen, Senior Transport Engineer at European Investment Bank. Hello and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you too.
So please tell us about this project and why was Ukraine selected as a platform for its implementation?
Well, actually, it's not only one project. We have a number of projects where we are addressing road safety.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and the most recent one is an urban road safety project, including the 5 major cities in the country. Apart from that, we're also supporting with technical assistance in a number of areas, also concerning national highways. So we are trying to support different branches of the road sector.
And why is road safety of interest to the European Investment Bank?
Because one of the bad effects of roads is road accidents, particularly if they are unsafe, which is a very common phenomenon in Ukraine. And the problem is that accident causes losses of life, lost income, a lot of associated costs at hospitals, and that is actually reducing the socio-economic impact of these projects. So the benefits for the Ukrainian people are lost, and this we want to mitigate by looking at safety.
So speaking about the most recent project, could you tell us more about it? What cities will it be launched in?
The 5 cities we are including in this first we call it a framework loan, because it includes 5 cities: Kiev, Kharkiv, Dnipro, Odessa and Lviv.
So these are the biggest cities in Ukraine.
I have to say one of them is probably not the... there's one more city in the play. But this is a first project. And it's interesting because it's going to include a lot of different projects in these cities. And the cities are very much ready to move forward, and they would like to learn what can be done in cities, learn from European cities, for instance.
But probably before launching this project, you were probably researching the situation. How bad is the issue of road safety in Ukraine, especially in these big cities? Could you tell us, could you provide us with some data on that?
Well, what we can say, data is an interesting issue because they are relatively inaccurate, or they have been relatively inaccurate because of the difficulties reporting accidents. You don't have all the information available at the site, and the hospitals collect other data. So I think the best source we have is the WHO. They have just issued an annual report, and they estimate that the number of fatalities, road deaths in the country is around 6,000, and half of them are pedestrians and cyclists.
6,000 per year?
Yes, per year.
This is a huge number.
Yes.
This is a huge number of people. I mean, 6,000 people every year, they die because of the traffic accident. We can even compare it with the ongoing conflict in the east of Ukraine. It doesn't bring that much casualties as this traffic accidents. This is a bad, of course, comparison, but this is very tragic.
It's comparable to the war, yes. And it's annual, so it's going on and on. There's some improvement lately, but we should still remember that out of these 6,000 or so, maybe a bit less, we have maybe 600-800 children. And this is a major health issue. It's one of the biggest killers among children and young people in the country.
So this project, what does it provide? What is the idea to change the situation, to change this tendency to kill people on the roads?
First of all, we're trying to get road authorities in Ukraine on the right track, because for many years the focus has been on investing in better and wider roads for cars, better facilities for cars. But in cities, obviously, the roads are part of the urban environment, part of the public space. Pedestrians are everywhere, people are crossing everywhere, and they have been forgotten in the planning for many years. So we need to get pedestrians into the planning, and we need to go into the design of roads. It has to be a priority when the cities are doing investments in transport. This is one of the ideas. Also supporting public transport.
I understand. Well, as far as I know, you worked in many countries on this issue, including Denmark, Ireland, Bangladesh, Ghana, Nicaragua, Vietnam, and the United States, just to name but a few. Is there any consulting work that you do with the Ukrainian government on how to address this issue in a right way so we can have this change being efficient?
Yes. Over the past 3 years, we got support from the European Partnership Trust Fund, a big grant, and there has been technical assistance to support, first of all, Ukrauftador and Ministry of Infrastructure in reforming design standards and procedures for safety. Secondly, most recently, we got a grant from the Neighborhood Investment Facility to support the cities we just talked about. We've also provided some of our own funds for consultancy in Ukraine to sort of hit on exactly the things we need to improve a project.
So what aspects could we point out? The roads should be repaired, fixed. Do we need some surveillance cameras on the roads? Do we need to change the legislation? Could you give us some more understanding what is lacking here?
Yeah. Traditionally, we can see that the road design has been old-fashioned and basically unsafe because it allows very high speeds. And excessive speeds has been the main problem and is the main problem for Ukraine.
Excessive speed?
Yes. And you will know what I talk about if you go to the highways. There's a total disrespect for speed limits, even where they are.
Let's explain our international audience what speed limits do we have in Ukraine on highways and also in the cities.
Let's start from the top. On the international highways, the big roads, the speed limit is generally 110. Traditionally, it's been allowing drivers to go up to 130 without being stopped by the police.
Kilometers per hour.
Yeah. It's now being changed, though, I have to say. Now it's being lowered a bit, but it's still like 110, and that's a very high speed limit for roads with junctions, with access to private properties, bus stops, and U-turns. So they are very high. In urban areas now, it's just recently it will be lowered to 50. There's just a draft law on the way, so there is improvement on the way. But we still need the police to come out and enforce the speed limits. Because, as you know,
we need more presence of the police on the roads.
And they are also working in that direction now. They are doing more effort because the respect for speed limits has been completely lacking.
On the other hand, speaking about the speed limits, I'm very much afraid that many Ukrainians probably wouldn't like this because Ukrainians are used to drive fast, so then they would just take it as some, I don't know, that their rights are being limited or their desires are being limited. So what can we do about that? How to address people in a right way? How to explain them that this is actually a big issue? 6,000 people die every year.
Yeah. The reason for the 50 kilometer per hour speed limit in urban areas is that if you are unlucky and you hit a pedestrian, the chance of survival of the pedestrian above 50 is very low. Below 50, it's much higher. So it's to create an environment where the likelihood of a fatality is less.
Can we speak about some percentage, approximately?
Yeah, if you're below 50, or actually if you're below 30, then there's a 90% chance of survival. And getting closer to 50, it's decreasing slightly. And when you're above 50, it's quickly increasing to 90% likelihood of getting killed.
Killed.
It's upside down.
So it reverses.
It reverses around the 50. And this is physical law that counts here as well as in every other country.
And this is very troubling.
Yes.
Well, the issue of road construction always has been very pricey, and we always can hear this in news and from the Ukrainian media. But the question of building or repairing roads is also probably a matter of political willpower. And there is this rumor around Ukrainians that probably road construction is one of the most corrupt and money laundering things in Ukraine's economy. So my question is, do you see enough political willpower from the current government that wants to bring the change?
We can say that whenever the EIB is financing road infrastructure, we have a high focus on safety. It's a requirement in our finance contracts. And also, talking about corruption, when it comes to procurement, we have very high requirements to procurement rules. So we are aware of these things, and these are things we discuss constantly with the promoter, as we call it, our client, which can be Ukravtodor or it can be a city. So
I understand. So you control these things, but how does Ukrainian government react on the dialogue? Because I do know that you keep the dialogue with them.
Yeah. On the highest level now, there has been agreement to a national road safety action plan and state program on safety. So on highest level, there's increasing commitment. On lower level, well, we have had to take it project by project, discussing with engineers and decision makers on lower level, and that has been a challenge because right now there's not enough awareness about what can be done and what should be done, and we really need to pump in some new experience in Ukraine, because continue doing what we have been doing in the past is not good enough, and that we see the results: many people killed, and we know from other countries that this can be reduced by, say, 50% in a decade if we really move forward. And we would like to support that change.
That would be nice. Well, I also have read that one of the key points of this road safety strategy is to reduce road injuries or maybe accidents to 0 by 2030. Is this true? Is this deadline true?
That's a vision. It's not a clear objective. It's a vision for the future that eventually we will have 0 deaths on the road. And this was invented by the Swedish some years ago. And the whole idea behind it, we should stop accepting the loss of life on the roads. The zero vision says, if I should translate it, we should not accept death and serious injury on our roads, because we know it can be prevented.
Yes.
We know the tools we need to prevent it.
Yeah, we can take control over this for sure. Well, you're originally from Denmark, one of the most developed countries in the European Union. I would like to ask you, how would you compare road safety and the attention it is given in Denmark and Ukraine?
It's a different culture, because in Denmark...
I understand, yes, but we can have some example to strive for.
I can give you one example. Like I talked about road design standards, where the old-fashioned standards that are now being phased out in Ukraine, they are unsafe. The primary purpose in Denmark, when you design a road in an urban area, or the most important priority, is safety. It's not capacity, it's safety first.
And not speed.
Yes. And in Ukraine, it's been the opposite for many years. It's been better roads, faster roads. Safety has not even been in the priority list. It has to be in the priority list, and it has to be on top.
Yes, I was actually very much surprised in Estonia that they do pay attention a lot to the kids' safety on the road. So every kid, whenever they go from school or to school, they have to wear this yellow vest, so the driver can always see that there are children on the street, there are children on the sidewalk, and this question is given so much attention to, and this is very very actually inspiring. I would like that this experience would be implemented in Ukraine. And the last question, just to conclude the conversation, how do you think, how much Ukrainians are ready for this change? How much are people aware that traffic accidents kill them many more times than actually on the front line?
I think they are aware of it. We have recently had a consultancy team who conducted a survey among people on the street, stopping them, asking them more or less this question. And the response was quite surprising, that they would like to see change on the road. They don't accept overspeeding, they don't accept misbehavior on the road. Some of them are maybe themselves drivers. Anyway, but the population, the general population, can see the problem, and they feel unsafe, and they feel afraid of their children. They would like to see more order on the road, for sure.
Well, that's an interesting survey. Let's hope that the European Investment Bank, together with the Ukrainian government, will keep this dialogue on the most productive and efficient level. And I hope that the results of this change are going to show up very fast. Thank you so much for your interesting comments, and thank you for being a guest today in our studio.
Thank you very much.
That was Per Mathiasen, Senior Transport Engineer at European Investment Bank. Thank you for watching Head to Head. I'm Oles Garjuk. Goodbye.